Okay, in this first video I've got two sheets. I got a sheet for you to look off of. You're just going to be on this side here. We're dealing with square roots here. Okay. Now the square root is 75. Now remember, if it doesn't have a root, we automatically put a 2 in the index right there. And then here's my first move on all these problems. I go 2 second and hit this caret key here. 75. Now I got a really long decimal. That's called an irrational number. So if you have an irrational number, okay, this is what you're going to do. And also, always get rid of the 1. We're not going to use that. Just get rid of it, okay? You're not going to use that. Now, again, I got an irrational number, so what I want you to do is put a division sign next to your 75, and you're going to make 2 separate square roots, 2 and 2. Okay, that's little 2's there. So I say, going down this line of numbers, what's the first number that's smaller than 75? It'd be 64. So I punch 75 into my calculator, divided by 64. Now if I get a decimal, that means it's not divisible, and I punch in 75 again, and then I go to the next number, 49. Decimal again, so 75 divided by 36, didn't work. 75 divided by 25, okay? Finally, I got something that wasn't a decimal. So here's what I put in these radicals here. I put the number I divided by, 25, okay? That number goes here. Then the answer I got goes right here, 3. You want to put them in that order. The number you divide by from this list first, then the answer I got here. Now here's what I do after that. I get rid of the first square root because that's equal to a whole number. It's equal to 5. So I just substitute 5 in for that. And my answer is 5 with the radical with the 2 and then 3. That's the answer, okay? Let's just move downwards, okay? So again, it's a radical 2. So I go 2 second caret, okay? 80. It's irrational. So then I divide the 80, and I'm attempting to rewrite that into 2 radicals. So 2 and 2. So I punch 80 divided by. Now the first number smaller than 80 would be 64. That was a decimal, so I got to move on. 80 again by 49. That's a decimal. Got to move on. So 80 again divided by 36. That's a decimal. Got to move on. 80 divided by 25. That's a decimal, 3.2, won't work. Now divide 80 by 16. Okay, finally I didn't get a decimal, so this is what I want to use. I put 16 in the first radical and then 5 in the second. So I eliminate the square root of 16 because the square root of 16 is equal to 4, so we substitute a 4 in for the square root of 16. So I have 4 with a square root of 5, okay? You just put 4 next to the square root of 5. Okay, the square root of 8, so I go second square root, 8. Okay, that's irrational, so I want you to divide that and rewrite it. Remember, it's a 2 in the radical, 2 square roots, okay? And the only thing smaller than 8 on this list here would be 4, okay? So I would divide 8 by 4, and it's 2. So I put 4 in the first radical and 2 in the second. So I replace the square root of 4 with what it equals, which is 2. So I have 2 square root 2. Okay. Next, the square root of 32. Okay. So I divide. I'm attempting to, first let's try it on the calculator. Before you write that down, you want to go 2 second caret 32. Okay, decimal, so I need to divide 32, and then I want to rewrite that in 2 square roots. Okay. So 32, okay, divided by, and I'd start with 25 because that's the first number smaller than 32. Then I'd go to 16, okay? Okay, I got something that would work, so I put 16 in the first radical and 2 in the second. So I replace the square root of 16 with 4. Okay, so I have 4, and then radical over 2, and then put a 2 in there to tell people that's a square root. Okay, next one, I put a 2 in there. So I go 2 second caret, okay, 2, 16. Now I didn't get a decimal. I got 4. So that's the answer right there. Okay, if I don't get a decimal, I want to write the whole number answer down, 4, right on the spot. I don't need to do all this other nonsense, okay? Now, the square root of 30. So I punch in 2 second, use that key right there to get your radical sign, this key here, 30. Got a decimal, so I divide into the 30. And I want to try to rewrite that in 2, okay? So the first number below 30 would be 25. 30 divided by 25 is a decimal. Then I go 16, decimal. Then I take 30 divided by 9, decimal. 30 divided by 4, decimal. Well, they're all decimals. So that means that's my answer, okay? When I divide up through here and get to the top, and I still can't find a whole number that it divides by, I circle that. That's going to be the answer right there. Okay, the square root of 18. So let's figure out what the square root of 18 is. 2 for the square root, second, and then hit this key up here now, 18. Decimal, so I need to divide into 18. Okay, so I would start with 16, so 18 divided by 16 was a decimal. Then I'd go to 9, 18 divided by 9. Okay, now I can rewrite it into the 2 square roots. So I put 9 in the first radical and 2 in the other one. So the square root of 9 is equal to 3, so I replace this with 3. So it's 3 square root of 2. Okay, and then the last one. Find the square root of 12 on your calculator, so 2 second caret 12. Got a decimal, so I need to divide into the 12 and at least try to write it in 2 square roots. So 12, I'd start with 9, decimal, and I'd go to 4. So I rewrite that as 4 and 3. So the square root of 4 is equal to 2, okay? So it'd be 2 square root 3. Remember, always rewrite that first one for what it's equal to. Okay, pause the video and do the back side if you could, please. Okay. Remember, first do it on your calculator. If it's not a decimal like this one wasn't, I have my answer right there, okay? So if I start trying to divide and I get to the top, then I can't find it, we circle it. Okay, pause the video and then work on the back side. Okay, now we're simplifying cubed roots, okay? Remember, a cubed root means what times what times what would equal like 500. Now, when you're doing cube roots, you're going to look at a different list. You're going to turn to the net back side, and you're going to look at this list here. It's different numbers, okay? Because the cube root of 8 is 2, because, don't write this down, but the reason why the cube root of 8 is 2, because if I take 2 times 2 times 2, that's 4, and that's 8, okay? So the cube root of 8 is 2. There's 3 2's that multiply to 8. Okay, same here, 3 times 3 times 3, that's 27. So the cube root of 27 is equal to 3, because 3 is a number I keep multiplying by to get 27. Okay, it's the same process essentially. Instead of 2, though, you start with a 3. Second caret, okay, 500. That's irrational, so I clear it, I divide, and I attempt to write it into 2 cubed roots this time. So I go 500 divided by. Now the first number it's smaller than is 343. Decimal. Then 216. Decimal. Then 125. Okay, so in those two radicals I put 125 and 4. So the cube root of 125 is replaced because that's actually equal to a whole number, and it's equal to 5, so I replace it with 5. So it's 5 cubed root 4. Okay, let's look at our next one. Okay, so the cube root of 875. So 3 second caret 875. Okay, I got a decimal. It's not going to work, so then I divide into it. So I take 875. The first number I have smaller is 729. I got a decimal. Okay, I got a decimal there. Decimal, you just got to be patient, man. Don't divide by 216. Divide by 125. Okay, finally I got something. I rewrite that as 125 and 7. So the cube root of 125 is replaced because that is equal to 5. Okay, so it's 5 with a cubed root of 7. Okay, the cubed root of 56. So 3 second upside down V, 56, decimal. So I divide into the 56, and I'm going to attempt to rewrite it in 2 cubed roots whenever I do that and get a decimal. So the first number is 27. 54 divided by 27. Okay, right away I got something. I put 27 and 2. So the cubed root of 27 is 3. Okay, so I have 3 with the radical 3 over 2. Okay, 32. So I go 3 second upside down V, 32. I got a decimal, so I divide into it. So 32, I divide by 27. That's a decimal. 32 divided by 8 is 4. So it's 8 and 4. So the cubed root of 8 is equal to 2. So I have 2 cubed root of 4. Okay, next one, the cubed root of 8. So I go 3 second upside down V8. Okay, I didn't get a decimal. The answer is just 2. Okay, so I just put 2. I'm done. 2 times 2, 8's on here, it's equal to 2, okay? So 3 second caret 64, I got 4. Okay, so 40. So first off, before I divide, let's punch that in. So 3 second caret, or caret is upside down V, 40. Got a decimal, so I'm going to divide, and I'm going to rewrite it 3, 3. So 40, I'd start 40 divided by 27. I got a decimal. Then I'd go to 8. I got 5, so I'd rewrite that as 8 first and then 5, always like that. So the cubed root of 8 equals 2, so this is equal to 2. And we have 2 cubed root over 5. Okay, now let's look at 50. So 3 second caret 50. I got a decimal. Decimal goes on and on and on, so I'm going to divide, so I don't have to, because it's irrational. So 50, I'd start at 27. Got a decimal. Decimal. And also get rid of 1. Don't get 1. Cross that out, okay? So I did 8, it didn't work. So I'm at the top. So when I reach the top and still can't find anything that divides, that's our answer. Okay, we just circle the original problem.